get started with it. I think a lot of you have joined already. So thank you so much for joining me for today's session on the Gen Z Guide to Careers in Cybersecurity and Surviving Online. So first of all, I feel like a lot of you are here because either you want to be a professional hacker or you want to get started in cybersecurity and don't know how, or you just want to figure out where to take things career-wise. So if you are any of those people, this is the session for you. We are going to have two games in today's session called What's Sus, adhering to the theme of Among Us, and you guys will get some e-goodies from my side for those games. So first of all, let's start with something we can all relate to. So have you ever thought about why you actually want to be a hacker? The reason that I wanted to be a hacker 4 years ago was because, I used to see all these people in movies, like they would ding, 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 I hacked into the mainframe, stole $1 million, and now I'm leaving with a huge bag of money. Yay. And I wanted to be that too, right? And I feel like a lot of us have started from that point. So a good starting point for us right now would be to discuss what is hacking actually and who is a hacker, right? So I read this book recently that's called Hacking, the Art of Exploitation. It's a really, really popular book among cybersecurity enthusiasts. And in the first 15 pages of that book, I think, the author really beautifully explains that you can either solve a problem or you can hack a solution to a problem, right? And those are two very different things. So hacking a solution to a problem in itself actually means not just thinking outside of the box, but actually breaking the box, turning it into a little pigeon and letting it fly away, right? So hacking a solution to a problem actually means thinking resourcefully and creatively in whatever you do, whether that's cybersecurity or software development or even medicine, right? So you can be a hacker even if you're not related to technology. But I do get where most people come from when they say, I want to be a hacker, right? So speaking of hacking, what people usually refer to is something we call black hat hacking, right? And it is illegal and it's a criminal activity, and most people get arrested for it. So today, I'm going to make all your fantasies related to hacking come true, but without getting arrested. So let's get started with it. So first of all, I started in the field of technology in 2020. I think that was the year for the books, the year that we all remember. And we all decided to pick up some or the other weird activity in 2020. I started boxing, I learned how to paint my nails, do my makeup, and I also picked up Among Us, which is going to be the theme for today's presentation. And also, I started coding in Python. Now, the reason for that is very funny and something I feel like a lot of you will relate with. I had this class, online class, at 7:30 a.m. in the morning, where the teacher would just take attendance and note down our names, right? And the rest of the classes, they started around 8 o'clock. And why should I ruin my sweet 30 minutes of slumber just so I can, click a link and join a Zoom meeting, right? So, a girl needs a beauty sleep. So a girl decided to make a Zoom bot that joined that class for me sharp at 7:30 in the morning and exited a couple minutes later. And that was my first project in Python. And the motivation behind it was, it was really, really naughty, if you ask me. So, that was sort of how I got into technology, to solve weird little problems that I had. And then I never really thought of cybersecurity as a career option because, it always seems so out of character for somebody like me, who is a literal jigglypuff who loves to paint her nails and sing and do her makeup, to do something as mysterious and technical and geeky as hacking seems, right? So, then I sort of realized that I didn't I didn't really have to sacrifice who I am to start hacking. And for a long time, I did, because I watched this TV series on Netflix that's called Salvation. And in Salvation, there is the female leader of a hacker group, the first hacker on a TV series that I could see myself in. So I decided I am at least going to give this cybersecurity thing a try, right? Even if I leave it after 4 months, I am at least going to try to become that hacker. And fast forward to 4 years later, here we are, and I am still learning. So, painting my nails and doing my makeup and expressing myself in different ways is sort of what makes me me, and it's my heart, right? And cybersecurity is something that I've fallen in love with. It's where my heart and my head agree. So I feel like I shouldn't have to choose between being myself and doing what I love. So if you have ever felt like you need to be this technical person, you need to know like 10 coding languages, and you need to be a nerd or a geek or whatever label people put on us to actually be a hacker, well, let me tell you, all you need to bring to the table is yourself and the right amount of passion so that you learn whatever it takes to get where you want to be. But why should you listen to me though, right? So here is a little bit about what I do professionally now and what I have done over the past 3 years when I've been learning cybersecurity. Currently, I am volunteering as a cybersecurity career ambassador for the National Initiative for Cybersecurity Education in the US. And in fact, this whole event is a part of Cybersecurity Career Week. And I have a couple cool certifications, like I am a certified cybersecurity professional and an ethical hacker, and blah, blah, blah. Getting to the most interesting part, my hacking work. I have recently reported vulnerabilities in the web applications of NASA, the US Department of Education. And recently, I discovered something that I would usually term as a data leak, where the financial information and personally identifiable information of over 400,000 Indian government officials was being leaked. So, my main project right now is called Hack with Her, and that's how most of you know me. Um, and with Hack with Her, I intend to break the barrier of complexity in cybersecurity that intimidated me at first when I started pursuing my first certification, and even before that, when I was thinking of getting into cybersecurity. And I also want to ensure diversity in cybersecurity in each and every way possible so that no one feels like they don't fit, right? So, it's crazy to think how the domino effect of life works, how I found my career path because of a couple of incidents that happened to me 4 years ago. I mean, I was cyberbullied, and that's why I picked up so many hobbies. So, it's crazy to think how life ends up sometimes. But you know who else had a rough time in 2020? Twitter, because they suffered a massive, massive data breach. And that just got me thinking, who would be the first person to notice a sus activity, right? Who would actually, press that emergency button and send that alarm out there that something fishy is going on? Who is that person? So on that note, let me introduce you to our sort of theme for today, which is going to be Among Us. Like I mentioned, Among Us is a game that I learned how to play in 2020, and it is still one of my favorite games till now. It basically blew up during the lockdown, and its story goes a little something like we're all we're all crewmates on a spaceship, right? That's floating around somewhere in space, and there is one imposter among us. And our job as crewmates is to perform little tasks that help keep the spaceship intact while the imposter tries to sabotage our tasks and kill off our crewmates. I mean, and actually, let me show you something. These little dead bodies or decapitated heads that you see floating around back there, those are the kills of the imposter, and it is concerning how funny I find that. But moving on. back to our discussion. So, who would be the first person to respond to something fishy? Who would actually press that emergency button in case something sus happens? And with that, I have somebody I want you to meet. This is one of my friends, and his name is Chad. Chad is a gym bro who usually skips leg days because, you know, he, he just does. And he enjoys catching patterns and connecting the dots. Chad also happens to be our security analyst for today, and he has called us because he noticed someone, a very fishy someone, was trying to access our secret files and was trying to send them outside of our spaceship. Right? So that's a pretty fishy activity. Very sus. So, I feel like the time is 7:50 right now. So Chad has to go to the gym. Can we help him though? Let's see. And with that, we begin our first game of What's Us. And for this game, I'm going to give you guys 2 minutes to open up the Google form that I sent you around 6:50, I think. That would be about 20, 30 minutes ago. So please open up your email and open up those Google Forms, and let's get hacking. So our objective here is to find the user ID that you think is trying to export our data outside of the spaceship, right? Because as I mentioned, somebody, a very fishy somebody, is trying to access our secret files and is trying to transfer them outside. So in the first question of the Google Doc that I shared earlier, I want you to type in that user ID. Now remember, for every What's Sus game that we solve today, you guys get a little e-badge from my side that I'm working on. So we're gonna wait for about 2 more minutes and then let's move on. I can see some of you raising your hands right now, and of course, we will take questions in the end of the presentation. I will open the chat box for you guys so you can ask me whatever you want. Now, I can see some of you have already submitted your replies. Congratulations. For those of you who can't access the Google form right now, I just want you to, note down the answer so you can submit it later and get your e-badge. So, now that we have found the fishy user ID, we can raise an alert. And that alert looks a little something like this. So suspicious activity detected, access attempt flagged, and your Pookie, the user ID that was sus, is not so Pookie anymore. I mean, my Pookie is Sky Parker from the Vampire Diaries, but the imposter is not so Pookie anymore. So we have just raised an alert, right? So who actually does something about it, right? Because raising an alert isn't gonna stop the imposter from doing anything. So who actually goes, yeah, I'm gonna do something about this, right? So first of all, let's take a step back and look at our situation right now. We are all crewmates of our spaceship and we are under cyber attack, right? Someone with the user ID, your Pookie, is sabotaging our tasks in the communication systems by sending our secret files outside. And if our files do reach outside, we might even lose contact with our planet, right? And like I mentioned here, justice is a dish best served with fellow hackers. So we're going to find that imposter and serve justice. So, like I was talking before, who actually does something about that alert? And on that note, let's meet our next friend for today, who is Jen. Now, Jen is somebody I've known since my childhood. She is that sort of, gutsy person who always did things I was always too afraid to do. Like when she was a kid, she would use the bathroom at school, which I have never had the confidence to do, right? So now she's into bungee jumping and skydiving and scuba diving and things that us mortal beings could never even dream of, right? So she is that adrenaline junkie sort of person and performs best under stress. So if you sound anything like Jen, then incident response is the career path for you, because incident responders, what they usually do is they are the first person who acts during a cyber attack and contains the whole situation, usually by isolating machines that have been infected or blocking certain ports. Like in our case, Jen acted quickly to stop the imposter from transferring sensitive data. And Jen blocked the file transfer protocol port, which I know is a mouthful to say, and on that particular machine that was trying to exfiltrate our data. To explain to you in simple terms, Jen basically banned the machine that was doing suspicious activity from transferring our files elsewhere. But do we know yet if any damage has been done? I think we need somebody to actually step into the shoes of your Pookie to actually find out what exactly was exfiltrated and how. So, with that, let's meet my personal favorite, my best friend for today, Jeff. So, Jeff is my best friend, and he is our digital forensics expert for today. Jeff is into that whole, Sherlock Holmes aesthetic and even dresses that way to work, which, by the way, I never understood, but you do you, Jeff. So, our digital forensics expert, Jeff, investigated after the attack exactly how it happened and what data was compromised and who was responsible. And how Jeff did that was basically Jeff traced the shoes of your Pookie or the imposter to build a timeline of what happened and exactly what happened. So we can maybe, try to connect the dots and maybe even find the imposter. But Jeff is really passionate about his work. He usually wakes up at 3 a.m. and enters the office at like 4 a.m. So it's about 8 p.m. now, and it is way past Jeff's bedtime. So we need to help him out. And on that note, we begin our second game of What's Sus. So this is the final game of What's Sus that we will have today. And for this one, I have 3 questions that I want you guys to answer. Right? So I know this might look a little intimidating at first, but if you guys just read this word by word and try to connect this with the timeline, you guys will easily get the answer to all the questions. So please open up your Google Forms and try to answer these questions for me. We're going to wait for about 1 or 2 minutes, and then I will explain to you the answers of these questions. So our first question is, who is your Pookie? I mean, you don't have to write the name of your crush. Please don't do that. You have to write down who you think the imposter is, as in their character's color. And our second question, which is of medium difficulty, is what file was exfiltrated and to which IP? So in simple terms, what was the name of our secret file and to whom was it sent, to which machine, right? Because an IP address is basically a little username, right, in social media terms for a machine on a network. And our last question, which is sort of, which would sort of be estimating. So what could have been the potential reason for the imposter to use their official name or their color for one particular action? And I can't really reveal that action to you right now without telling you who the imposter is. So 1 minute has passed. We will wait for another 60 seconds and then move on to our next part of the presentation. So I hope you all are having fun right now. I know I am. So it's our first time, interacting live. So yeah, thank you for all the thumbs ups and all the love. All right, so the time's up. So the first question, who is the imposter? Right? So let's start from the beginning, right? Let's start with this timeline right here. So our imposter logged in at 6:05 and file access, file downloaded, and at 6:30 the file was transferred, right? But another coincidence we have here is the system snapshot, which shows that a remote connection was initiated from that very machine where suspicious activity was going on to an external machine that was outside of our spaceship. And that remote connection was initiated by Purple. But I mean, that could have been anything, right? That could just be a coincidence. But if you notice, the the connection was established to the same machine to which our secret files were transferred by our imposter. So if you connect the dots, cross the i's and dot the t's or whatever, you get that the imposter is Purple. The second question, the file exfiltrated was secretfile.ascii. And third, what could have been the potential reason for the attacker to use their official name for one action? That probably could have been because the your imposter ID, which was probably newly created only for these malicious purposes, did not have the appropriate permissions to start a connection, or that malicious ID was not authorized to do any of the tasks that were listed here. Now, next we're gonna see Purple's face, and we're gonna see how Purple reacts to the news. We have called an emergency meeting, and now we have Purple. So this is Purple, and if this were anything like a hacker movie, like Mr. Robot or something, you guys would be rooting for Purple right now, because it is a known fact that usually the evil characters in movies and TV shows are the most handsome and beautiful, right? But this isn't a movie, right? If this was real life, right, the imposter would actually be caught and would be spending some time in jail. And in my fair share of time that I've spent learning cybersecurity and building my personal brand, I would say about 3 years, I've had people reach out to me asking me to, join their little groups or clubs in some or the other activity that just didn't sit right with my personal ethics, right? And so, that just got me thinking, if hacking is portrayed like such a cool and glorious thing in a movie, and when I also see somebody like Rio from Money Heist, or Alicia from Salvation, do their thing like ding ding ding, I hacked into the mainframe. I always find that so cool, right? Hacking in a movie is really cool, but wearing that shade of orange in real life is not so cool, because let's be real, I have an Indian undertone and that shade of orange is not for me. And secondly, as I was talking about, those groups and stuff, from what I've noticed personally, uh, these hacking groups and stuff have become less about, offensive innovation and more about scamming people and running as, sophisticated scam centers. Because 99.9% of the people in these groups are absolutely disposable to the leaders. And they are the ones who end up getting in the most trouble, right? And uh, if you do believe, you're a part of that 0.1% that could actually learn something and could become the greatest hacker in the world, like Kevin Mitnick, sir. I mean, isn't that wasted potential? Like, if you spend 5, 10 years studying every hacking book out there, studying every cyber attack, I mean, you could be making millions in cybersecurity instead of, instead of doing, small black hat tasks for a couple of bucks. So we're going to be talking about what happened to our Pookie. And we caught our Pookie red-handed, um, purple-faced criminal charges and jail time, and was blacklisted from jobs in IT, where Purple could have made a fortune actually. But you can either get rich securing things, or you can get caught breaking them, right? So moving on, I want you to meet one of you in the future, hopefully, the penetration tester, right? Because I know still some of you have that hacker mindset and love breaking things. I know I do, right? I want to be a web application pen tester. So this is one of you in the future. You thought of becoming a cyber criminal and a black hat, but until you attended today's session and you changed your mind and decided to become the greatest penetration tester of all time. So the penetration tester sabotages the crewmate's tasks in our story also for a living and makes a ton of money off of it, right? The penetration tester is highly respected and secure the spaceship's vulnerabilities. And basically, a penetration tester's job is very, very similar to what we would call a typical hacker, because you are actually hacking into something. You are finding and trying to exploit vulnerabilities. But instead of stealing and doing petty tasks of it, you're reporting them and you're earning rewards and respect, right? So also, our penetration tester in Among Us knows how to vent, right? Like I mentioned, the penetration tester can do everything a black hat hacker can do and more, but with respect. Now we are done with the careers and cybersecurity part of our presentation. I know that was pretty short because I only decided to cover about 3 or 4 career paths. There are like, I would say, I mean, tens and hundreds of career paths that you could actually take in cybersecurity, because it is just such a beautiful and it's an aesthetic field, right? It's a field that's really underrated and is developing right now. So I feel like a lot of you are going to be influenced by what we talked about today, and you will decide to take up a career in cybersecurity. Now, talking about how what we discussed today actually connects with some real life stuff and how this might help you advance your career. After, I would say, some time, I might share a roadmap with you. And that roadmap starts with identifying your niche. And what we discussed today, I hope it helped you find your niche. So usually what I would recommend out of all the people that I've helped start their careers in cybersecurity is that first you find your niche. You don't get into black hat and scamming stuff. You find your niche, and then you go to a website like Try Hack Me or Hack the Box, and you try to solve some gamified labs, because what gamified labs do is they build up dopamine, right? And when you start to get that dopamine rush while doing cybersecurity, I feel like that's the best thing ever, because you're learning and you're also getting that dopamine rush that you would usually get while scrolling online. So, and after you do find your niche and you do build up some basic knowledge, you can actually move on to a specialized field, and there are plenty of roadmaps that cover things from an intermediate level. So coming back to the cyber safety starter pack for Gen Z, I feel like most of us are Gen Z right now, but cyber safety is something that we definitely need to talk about, because as much as I feel like a lot of you are going to be like meh and you're going to roll your eyes at the slide, but we need to talk about this, because like I said, when we all go outside in the physical world, we try to protect ourselves, right? We try to you know keep ourselves safe. So we have to keep ourselves safe in our digital lives as well. Let me give you a very funny example for this. Whenever my parents or anybody tries to take my phone or my laptop away, I always tell them, I have a life in here, I do have a life in here. And I feel like all of us have lives on social media or Instagram. We have our digital personas. And the fact that we get to control very easily how safe we can be there is something that's pretty cool. And so we should be cyber safe. And to be cyber safe, you need to be smart. First, secure your accounts with two-factor authentication, which actually correlates to the principle of defense in depth when you study cybersecurity. Second, you manage your passwords properly. First of all, don't keep forgetting your passwords. And second of all, don't keep your password something like password 123. I feel like that's a cliche one. But don't even keep it something like, I love Selena Gomez. Because I know we all love Selena Gomez, but we don't need to express that through our passwords, please. And secondly, we have avoiding suspicious links. I feel like that's something we should all do. But let me tell you a very funny story related to this one. So recently, one of my friends, I'm not going to name him, I think he's on here already. He sent me this link, right? And because I trust this guy, and because I've been talking to this guy for years now, he sends me this link and he goes, hey, why don't you click on this? This is a love calculator for you and your crush. And I was like, I mean, okay, let me try. So I clicked on it, and first I checked it on Virus Total though, because I don't trust these people, but Virus Total didn't show me anything. So I was like, okay, let me just trust this guy. And I entered my own name to see, how much I love myself, to calculate my love for myself. And you know what pop-up it showed me? Your crush's name has been sent to blah blah blah. So you should avoid suspicious things, not just for cyber safety, but also to protect your reputation and avoid being embarrassed in front of your crush. So the R of being smart, reduce what you share. I mean, this is something I could talk to for hours and hours, but I'm just gonna spend 5 minutes on it. So, how I said we all have, digital personas that we all identify with, and we have our own circles. The whole world can see your circle, and the whole world can see your digital identity, right? And I feel like a lot of you are school students and college students who are probably looking for university admissions or jobs. So fun fact, when a university or a company or an organization actually wants to give you a job, they look into your background, right? And they do that through OSINT, something called OSINT. And when you do OSINT and social media intelligence, you make a little, you keep track of a person's each and every digital footprint. And so you have to sort of control what you put out there, because what you put out there is what your future employer is going to see. It's what your maybe future spouse is going to see. It's what your crush is going to see. So if you want to still have your pookie, just be careful what you post online. And for the T, turn on updates regularly. So most of the bugs that are found in websites and most of the things that are hacked because a developer or somebody forgot to update something, right? And it had an old vulnerability on it that could still be exploited. So you should probably update your apps and your iPhone and everything. So your safety is in your hands. You have the power to be smart and stay safe. I like to think our digital identities are like, every single post I make on Instagram is like a digital tattoo, right? It's really, really difficult to scratch off. I mean, it's impossible to scratch off, but it's really, really difficult to erase. Because, let me tell you a fun fact. You can actually view someone's deleted posts through web archives. And let me know if you guys want to see a tutorial on that one, because I feel like a lot of you are going to be interested in that. So with that, we conclude our presentation. That's a wrap. Thank you so much for being such a lovely audience to me. happy hacking, and I hope you all start a career in cybersecurity and don't lose your cookies. Thank you for all the love. Now we can start with our Q&A, I think. I think the chat is open now. Thank you so much for the sweet feedback. I'm going to stop screen sharing now and answer your questions. Yes, I am 17. I just turned 17. And yeah, I'm going to give you guys that tutorial after I give JE in April, right? Or else my parents are going to kill me if I do anything after this. Thank you. So I was talking about hacking the art of exploitation. You can Google it. It's literally the most popular book out there. So I'm confused. Where should I start? So like I mentioned, you should start by picking a niche, because one mistake that I made in the beginning that I don't want you guys to make is to learn, in a very scattered way, right? You don't know whether to, start digital forensics, or you don't know whether to start penetration testing. You don't know what to do, or you don't even know if you should start making phishing links for a living, right? So you should start by picking a niche and then working on that niche. Maybe if your interest changes, you can always switch to another niche. The foundational knowledge is the same for everything. So next question. No, I would not like to crack G by hacking into your website. And best book for beginners. So best book for beginners, first of all, a staple. A staple is Hacking the Art of Exploitation. And if you want to get into bug bounty hunting, I know a lot of you do. I found this really cool book that's called Web Hacking 101. It's pretty underrated, right? If you guys want, I will email you the name of that book. And thank you so much for the sweet feedback. Free certificates or paid? So the certificate for this session will be absolutely free. Nothing is going to be paid. Please write your questions in the chat, guys. I can't unmute selected people. That's a limitation of Google Meet. How can Gen Z move to the right path since they get motivated by watching something before knowing whether it is right or not? So, that's the thing with our generation. You try to manipulate them by speaking their own language, they get manipulated very easily. So, to get more Gen Z on the good side of things, I am working towards it. I know Rasha ma'am, I think she's still there. Rasha ma'am is also helping me on this. So, that's one of the reasons I started Hack with her, because I want people to, look at me on reels and, Instagram videos, and I want them to want to be on the good side of things. So thank you so much, Rasha ma'am. Thank you. From where did you learn cybersecurity? So let me tell you, I started with competitive programming in Python, like I mentioned, because I wanted to be a software engineer, and I never even thought of starting cybersecurity. And after that, I went to LinkedIn, and I saw what other people were doing in the field of cybersecurity, and I asked a lot of people that I'm still in touch with, how I can start, because I was 13 or 14, and I didn't know what to do, right? Half of the world wouldn't even believe in me. So a lot of people did help me, and they told me about Try Hack Me. So I started through Try Hack Me. What platform would you suggest? No more books, only to learn through practicals. Try Hack Me, Hack the Box. There's Let's Defend, and there are a couple more platforms. So for the ISC2CC that I took in January this year, I took around, I would say, 2 months to prepare for this. And And I followed some notes by Cyber Fascinate on GitHub. You can easily find them. And ISC2 has a free course on the ISC2 CC that I took. And more questions. Yes, I will share the book recommendations on email. And how can I start my career in penetration testing from scratch without paying for any courses? I did that. I didn't pay for any courses or anything. So, like I said, Try Hack Me is the best resource, and you can always find books for free on Telegram, and you can even find their PDFs through Google via Google Docking. I can send you some pretty cool docs for you guys to try and find free books. And should I go for the first or the second edition of the book that you mentioned? I don't know if there's a first, second edition for Hacking the Art of Exploitation. I'm going to have to look into that one. I think what I'm reading is the first edition. And there's a lot of repetition in the questions. I will share the roadmap very, very soon. I want you guys to stay tuned for that. But since I am also a school student, it's going to take a little bit of time for me to prepare. How can I join your team? I don't have a team. I don't, one woman army, but you can join me through Discord, right? I have a little server there, and you can connect with more cool people in cybersecurity. And there is a lot of repetition. Lots and lots of repetition, guys. Please don't send the same questions over and over again. It's getting hard for me to answer them. What after CEH? Okay, what after CEH? So that depends on the niche you want to go into, right? Because CEH is basically for penetration testing, and there are a lot of niches in penetration testing as well. Like there's web applications, you can get into bug bounty hunting. And for that, I feel like TCM Security has a really, really good certification on web app pen testing. And after CEH, if you really want to go down that, cookie cutter penetration tester path, I would say go for the EJPT, right? Because the OSCP is hundreds of times more expensive and more leveled up. And go for the EJPT, and then after that, if you do want to go for the OSCP, either do that or TNPT by TCM Security. I feel like those are pretty cool for the typical path that a penetration tester takes. Can we send the Google form? Yes, please send the Google form where you have answered the questions. And thank you so much for the feedback. Thank you. And yeah, I think we are done with the questions. So thank you so much for being the most lovely audience today. And I will see you guys in the next one, which is probably going to be next year, and it's going to be a lot bigger and a lot better. So till then, keep hacking and stay happy, everyone. Bye-bye.